It's 1546 on the 30th of September, and as is usual in the circumstances I'm contending with that have brought about awful disharmony and dysfunctional circumstances that aren't usually anticipated or expected in civilized circumstances, but since January 2017, since my son was unlawfully separated from me with unlawful care orders, and when I experienced the first unlawful detainment of mental health practitioners that had no other previous former contact with me to be imposing and trespassing onto private property, and that caused an unlawful detainment. That incident brought about the most dysfunctional, disharmonious, disrespectful conditions and circumstances in society, and the system of the democracy came apart due to individuals that are still persisting in Tralee, County Kerry, to be of my professional portfolio, where they're taking credit in a deluded state of mind that is highly unstable and of awful slander, defamation, and false reporting, wasting taxpayers' money and offending the health and wealth recovery that I initiated. The psychiatric issues of these people that haven't treated ASBO conduct and that are still of creative intellectual property theft are absolutely embarrassing to progress in any civilization. As an anthropologist, as a sociologist, as a practitioner, as a recovery advocate for addicts for 2 decades, and for more than 2 decades as an educator for individuals in a community to be assisting mental health ASBO claims of any category of society without evidence, without a point of contact, without right or remit, without any respect for royal protocol. People of false reporting are not trusted in the media. They are not trusted in broadcasting, and they are an embarrassment to the arts. Now, in this circumstance that I'm documenting in that sign of the Times, there have been individuals guilty, very, very guilty of very dangerous crimes against the Declaration of Human Rights. I have tolerated them for 20 years. And they are still active and still brazen with professional, creative, intellectual property that they have no authority or entitlement to. And they are still guilty for the damages, defamation, and disrespect to the field of psychiatry, mental health, and psychotherapy that I have been for 20 years working with as an advocate of addiction recovery progress that has culminated as Brexit and COVID-19, and that is down to no other experiences, strengths or hopes, only my own. From my pen, my paper, where frauds in County Kerry are still spinning tales like charlatans with no shame, and a debt the size of a mountain that they still haven't paid, and they are still increasing that debt, and that debt is growing more dangerous by the day with every offence against my child's upbringing with unlawful care orders. So this is a very serious issue. What's going on? These people are not lawful citizens. They're not recognised by royal protocol. They've offended women and children's charter rights of the Ukraine, as well as other countries, South America, for instance, also. And as I've mentioned, I have royal titles from a few countries, and I'm tolerating a very dissatisfactory circumstance. So those that have debts owing to my name are making themselves unsafe with every day unpaid. I hate to tell these people in a public broadcast documentary how embarrassing the situation is, that they haven't the common sense, common decency, or the intelligence to even honour their scrappy debts that they have been accumulating for the past 20 years since they commenced their ASBO conduct against my good name, character and reputation. So now people's lives are being put at risk because of these people, and all the health and wealth recovery that I initiated, the IMF, the ECB, the whole lot of you out in Europe, you're all being updated with regard to the risks associated with anyone in my way of my wealth that I am fully entitled to. There are PR stunts, there are publicists, there are broadcasting messages that are not in line with the law or the reality, and these people are gone down the rabbit hole as usual with their own tail in a tailspin, with themselves all over the place telling stories that aren't based in reality. And now we have a problem in this world with people offending reality, faith and family, and they have disrespected the reality of family values, and they have damaged the church of the Roman Catholics. So there's a huge concern that my vows of the church it's out in Kerry. It's a lovely patch of the old ancestral land we have, but the ancestral church of my forefathers and foremothers, that of the 30th of the 3rd 2015, is still an issue that I'm bringing to the Catholic and Vatican churches, that this crime by individuals that are shameless. They have offended Islam, they have offended Hinduism, and they have offended themselves with disgraceful petty thieving and not a shred of dignity to honour their death. It's disgusting what they're going up to. It's ongoing. So those people are not welcome, they're not lawful, and they're no favour to the Arabic culture either. They're no favour or they're proponent of success for any culture when they are after causing such disgraceful disrespect. Any damages to women and children is unforgivable, absolutely inexcusable. And people of any publications expecting to have a peaceful agenda supporting crime against the legislation that I'm responsible for, anyone of creative property theft, I hope you're aware of how dangerous any agenda ongoing on behalf of ASBOs with mental illness and confusion, with dirty debts, is to be supporting for land grab. Dirty initiatives of petty menaces in society that are not worthy and that are not welcome on my property where I forbid them. So I hope they understand how unsafe their own homes are becoming with the crimes against the church, my child and the Constitution. It makes me smile, but it's a sad sign of the times when people can't understand what's right. So those of the European Court of Human Rights, those of the United Nations and the World Health Organization, I hope you're on the right side of the law. I'm 25 years preparing this situation for pandemic, for not pandemic, but COVID-19 mental health matters, mental health reform, and the matters surrounding healthcare services, simply due to the ASBO conditions that have been conducted in this community, or a collective that have been offending well-being and hypocritical obligations. So there are people that are rising up above their station without doing nothing but cause troubles on this little island, and that's all they've done. Using women as commodities is not a way of progressing yourself to the boardroom table, thinking that you're going to joyride off other people's wealth and worth. So I hope everyone watching this is aware of what isn't worthy of support and that isn't safe to support. As I said, those that have been of damages to wealth from Arabia are in quite dangerous territory, stepping onto my farmland and offending the church, the Vatican Church, and my nuptials that they have also slandered. They've slandered my nuptials and they have obstructed my marital rights and they have stolen from my child. So these people have abducted a son, they've stolen wealth from his mom, and they've walked into people's homes, and they are not welcome. So I hope the children out there that are getting safety in this country, that are benefiting from Brexit, that is as a consequence of me. Anyone disrespecting Brexit or disrespects COVID-19, that is a consequence of me, on behalf of any degenerate nonsense of uneducated, unqualified debtors that are unwelcome, might be aware of how unsafe they're making themselves associating with their agenda or their pathetic, disgusting slander regarding my nuptials of the 30th of the 3rd 2015. These people are shameless. So hopefully the authorities out there are aware of the dangers as well of what has happened already with those of spitting offences and contaminants in society. This is an ongoing issue. I'm a victim of these people's behaviour. I'm a royal mother, and there are people in society that have dirty debts that are their children's risk to have to carry now as well. So people that don't pay their debts are a problem, and I hope the IMF and the ECB are aware of the urgency of what I require immediately in this circumstance where there are ASBOs unwelcome to be discussing my property or my family or anything with regard to their slander and disgusting behaviour that they have been like pests polluting the world with dirt. I hope the Islamists out there are aware of my background as well, with respect for my bloodlines and my royal heritage. I hope the Islamists are aware of how dangerous it has been in this circumstance, with people still laying claim to what they don't have and disgracing the laws of Islam, and even worse, using Islam as as a ticket to some kind of exquisite carte blanche to do what they like. They have abused the privileges of Islam, and they've disgraced the significance and the magnificence of Islam. So there's a very dangerous situation going on. The IMF and the ECB are aware that I'm aware that there are frauds. Any representatives misrepresenting themselves are putting themselves at risk. Anyone with unpaid debts is putting themselves at risk, and anyone working with mental health practitioners discussing anything of other people's mental health after what I've done for COVID-19, I think are putting themselves at risk. So these people need to understand that they don't have right, they don't have remit, and they've already caused casualty, and they don't own the world. They have a debt to humanity, and they've caused tragedy. So I hope everyone's on the right side of the law. I'm of crime prevention, experiencing crime, and the Department of Justice is aware of how unsafe it is for their little girls to be supporting any kind of crime after what I have done with the Victims Federation support groups, and with the Narcotic Anonymous groups as well, that brought about Brexit and COVID-19, and any doctors assisting any more damages to my health and well-being. And I hate to say what could happen for the unborn children due to disgusting people in society that are like toxins and that think they're in control of people's wealth and family and doing the dirt of society with contamination that they've caused. So this is what's going on. This is what these people are responsible for. I hope everyone's on the right side of the law. Anyone acting against anything of my contributions to COVID-19 or Brexit are putting themselves at awful risk, and that's a sin. So I hope everyone understands what's right and what's wrong. And as I said, any doctor is already guilty of Hippocratic crimes on behalf of ASBOs confused about my creative intellectual property theft, or their creative property theft from me and their own portfolios. Any confusion regarding unlawful detainments, unlawful childcare orders, and how this all happened, then those that are suffering from confusion really need to seek assistance and help. In the meantime, I'm waiting for the IMF and the ECB. I've been of huge wealth recovery. I'm owed very dangerous money. Any expenditure from my wealth or any discussions of thieves or frauds associating themselves with my farms in Ardfert or Kilflint, anyone associating themselves with properties that does not belong to them, are putting their lives and safety and well-being and integrity all in a precarious territory. It is unwelcome and it is unwanted. Trespass onto private property of my nuptials and my family are not permitted. It's a crime. It's a simple crime. So I want the IMF and the ECB to hear me loud and clear. I'm suffering very dangerous injuries as a consequence of incompetence and ignorance by people that are just an embarrassment to society. They're the most embarrassing circumstances in Tralee at the moment that have been caused with constitutional wrongdoings and very petty, pathetic behaviour, and they owe very dangerous debts. So it's very serious that what I need is provided, and if it isn't, then the legislation that came about COVID-19 and Brexit does not have the support of where I have brought it to, and that has been from my experience, the strengths and hopes of 20 years. So unless the legislation is appropriately processed then that's unsuccessful legislation. I'm aware of the politicians up in Dublin working with the frauds in County Kerry. I'm fully aware of the frauds as well for the past 20 years. So I hope the IMF and the ECB are aware of what financial fraud and its dangers have caused already from Tralee, County Kerry. Sad sign of the times.